Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. For today's video, I had the urge to play in some makeup, so I've got all my special effects makeup around me, and I think the look I'm going to do today is one of the kind of cut mouth, slit faces, and then maybe just like some stuff on the eyes. I don't really know about that yet, but I've got some new makeup here to play with. I've got a new makeup palette, and then some Ben Nye Scar Wax, and they're actual good special effects makeups. So I wanted to play with them and kind of record myself doing it for you guys as like a little tutorial. This is a look I haven't done in a while, and when I was doing it, I would do it with like toilet paper and latex. So this will be my first attempt using actual scar wax, so we'll see how it goes. So I think I'm going to bring the slit kind of like up to about mid cheekbone for me. And I think the way I'm going to approach this, because I was playing with this a little bit earlier, and I found out that the wax, it goes a long way, so you don't need a ton. So I think instead of doing like all of the wax up into here and then making a slit, I'm just going to do two thin strips on the top and the bottom and kind of form them into a slit just to give that depth of like the cut, and then just where my actual skin is will be what we're going to make look like the cut open skin. So what I'm going to do first is take my Spirit Gum adhesive, and you can kind of tell it's been through a lot. I've had this for a while and I've used it plenty, so it's covered in gunk. But I'm basically just going to put a little bit on the areas that I'm going to apply the wax, just to give the wax something else to hold on to, especially because this is kind of a soft spot on my face. The wax is really good on places like your cheekbone and nose where there's like a hard surface on it. But since it's going to be just on my cheek itself, I'm definitely going to need a little extra assistance with the adhesive. And while that is drying a little bit, because you want it to be a little bit tacky, I'm going to dig in here and grab a little bit of the wax out. And what I like to do is I've got like the Ben Nye Quick Cleanse makeup cleaner. You can just use any other makeup remover, but I like to put a little bit of it on my finger while I work the wax on my face, and this will just help to make sure the wax doesn't stick to your finger, and you can kind of contour it into your face a little bit better without having to worry about it sticking and getting all like tacky. Right, we got the first bit on. Now I'm gonna put on the bottom half. And I mean, I'm really not even using that much wax, and I was able to get that to stretch all the way up to that halfway point that I was looking for. So I'm still working with this. This is still kind of a new medium for me, but so far I've had pretty good luck with it. I was messing with it a little bit this morning. I did like a little cut on my hand. So I'm just going to take this dry brush that I have and just work on kind of softening out the edges, kind of blending them out some. So now I've got the edges blended. I'm going to keep kind of those rough edges in the middle rough like that because I want to give that look of like torn and ripped skin. What I'm going to do next is take some of my liquid latex that I have here, and I'm going to just kind of put the latex over the edges of the wax, kind of help the wax dry up a little bit, get it to stick, and that way it's going to be really solidified on my face. Alright, so that side just needs to dry, so now we're going to move on to the left side. Alright, that top half is done. My right side's drying nicely, so now I'm going to do the bottom half of my left side. So my left side is on. My edges are a little rougher on the side, but that's okay. So now I'm gonna dip back into my latex here and start solidifying these edges. Alright, so we'll let that side dry for a little bit. It's a little bit rougher than this side, but I usually do worse on my less dominant side than I do on this side. Something that I'm working on is being even throughout. Alright, so now that we've got both of the cuts on the sides, I'm going to start with the filling in the center of the wound. Now I'm going to use this palette. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the red and the black together to give it a deep wounded look, and then I'm going to fill that in the center here, and that's just so we don't have to fill it completely up with blood, because we'll already have a little bit of that depth with the black and the red in there. And I'm trying to make sure I keep the edges darker. And I'm going to go in and make the middle more like the reddish color, but I'm using more of the reddish black on the edges just where the cuts are to give it a little bit more dimension. Alright, so there is the colored in first part of the cuts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my nude matte palette I have here and take one of these lighter browns and just go over those wax areas. And I'm just doing it very lightly, but just enough to get a little bit of that area darker. Because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add some red on top, and I want the red to sort of act as irritation from the skin around where the cut is. So having the darkness around there is going to help build depth on top of the red. So now I'm taking just the dry brush onto the red from my palette here and just using it to swirl some red around where the cut is. And I'm using the other end of this brush to help just kind of fuse out the color. If I get an area a little too much, I can just use it to sort of feather it out. Because as you know, with like when you cut yourself, it sort of is a light fade out from where the initial injury is. Alright, I'm liking how this is looking so far. Like I said, this is my first time using the wax like this, and so far I'm liking it. There are places that are peeling up a bit. I need to sort of do a little bit more research on just making sure to keep those edges down. And just maybe learn about different techniques to use and stuff. And I feel like I should have connected it a little bit more on the upper part of my lip on each side, but we'll try to see if we can fake that with the blood. Alright, so I think this side's good to go, so now it's time to start coloring this side. Same thing, I'm just going to dip this brush into a little bit of water here, and then start painting. Alrighty, I think the first little bit of depth is there. So now we're gonna switch back to my matte nude palette here and just hit some of that brown. Alright, it's looking cool. My blending, now that I'm applying the makeup, I don't know how much you can tell, but the blending on this one is not as good. And the makeup is sort of bringing that out just because it's not a smooth transition, so it's a little bumpier, it's a little bit easier to see. But we can just bloody up this side a little bit more. Blood covers everything. I'm gonna go back over to this palette and I'm going to hit those reds. Now with the dry brush and just start to make my skin a little more irritated. Yeah, you can see the bottom part in here. It's starting to definitely like break apart and not stick. So this side, not so much. This side, definitely better, and it's for sure not even. But whatever, we're having fun. I'm having fun at least, so that's all that matters here. Okay, so now that I have the initial makeup done, it's time to get bloody. So, I'm going to take this bloody scab that I have and a toothpick, and I'm going to just sort of place the blood. I want the bloody scab, the goopy, thicker blood to be in the cut, and then we're going to just sort of like fade it out with a stipple sponge on our fingers a little bit, kind of similar to how we did it for the clown look that I did a few weeks back in October. But I mean, that stuff is thick and on there. Ooh, I love how thick and gross this looks. It's like the consistency of like jelly almost. And I'm just sort of clumping it on and letting it gather kind of naturally where it needs to, but also sort of sticking it up under those like loose parts of wax that kind of look like just lifted skin. Oh, it's already like, that's no blood, and then that's blood. It just looks so much better. Alright, now let's fix up the left side here. Oh, it just rolls on so nicely. Oof. Alright, so we've got the thick scab blood going. It's looking good so far. I mean, it's not the most even or most smoothly applied wax makeup, but considering the fact that it's like pretty much my first time using the wax like this, I'm pretty proud of myself. So next I'm going to take just a more liquidy blood and I'm going to just sort of tap it onto the edges here, and then just with my little stipple sponge here, I'm going to just sort of drizzle some blood on there and then drizzle it onto my face. Now this is just to sort of spread the blood a little bit on the outer corners, like the outer edges of the mouth. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to hide too much with the blood, because blood's easy to hide mistakes, and I've made mistakes on this makeup, but too much blood can look very, very overdone and fake, and I don't want to have too much of a fake look to this. So now I'm just putting a little bit on my finger and kind of hitting those edges, getting them a little bit bloodier with the liquid blood. Alright, I definitely smudged it there. That's okay. That we've already committed to the fact that the left side's not as good. Yeah. Okay, so now I think I'm just gonna put a little bit of red onto my lips just to give my lips a little bit more color. Now I think I just want to add a little bit extra to my eyes. I think I really just want to put a little bit of red under my eyes and have it just sort of fade down, sort of similar to what we did up here. I think I'll even do a little bit of brown up on the top lid and then just sort of red underneath. I just want to kind of balance out my face because I didn't put like any makeup on. I just have a bare face, obviously. So I want to just do a little bit something into my eyes just to sort of balance it out. And I think I'm just going to use this brown, the same brown that I used down in here, and just sort of darken up the tops of my eyes. And now I'm going to go back to my red in here and just add it underneath. Alright, so I think that helps just sort of give this look a little bit more, just gives me a little bit more of a look of someone who would have something done to them like this. What do you guys think though? I think the lips might be too red. I think I want to add just a little bit of black into them. And I think what I'm really going to do, and I think I'm going to take just this little itty bitty brush I have and dip into my black here. Alright, that feels much better. It's not as contrasty between the darkness here and then the red of my lips. And now I'm just going to hit a little bit of bronzer. I definitely have a ton of flyaways, so that's getting dirty with makeup. But I think I'm just going to contour a little bit onto my face just to give myself a little bit more depth. But there we go, my split mouth look is done. And I'm trying to see just like when I move my mouth around in funny ways, how the wax holds up. And it's definitely peeling away in places. Like I said, I just need to look into better ways to adhere this. My spirit gum is also a little bit old and goopy, so I think if I just had better liquid spirit gum that I could put on the surface, it might be a little bit better. So I'm not going to blame any of the products or anything like that. I'm going to blame just my application job and probably just the age of my products. But I really just wanted to play in some makeup today and do a little look for you guys, especially since I just got some of that makeup just recently for Christmas and I was just dying to play with it. So I hope you like this look. I know this isn't one that you can just do with like whatever you have around the house, but maybe this will encourage you guys to also try to play with some wax and stuff, or you just like to watch something like this. So whatever it is, I thank you so much for watching. If there's other makeup looks you guys want to see or just have ideas for me, I would love to hear them. You can leave comments down below or head over to my Instagram, What Oh Horror, and I will be making a post about this video as well. But as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see new videos, because I put out new videos every Friday. And until next time, stay spooky.